Man, it's been a weird trip and drive this year because like we're not going into the cities.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad thing, I guess.
Nope.
I like. I used to have this comedy skit series called Outer Portlandia.
Okay.
Because we're like on the very outskirts in one of those little like towns that kind of gets razzed on, as like the trailer park area or whatever it is. So it was Outer Portlandia,
man.
but I'll get people messaging us like, man, stuff sounds crazy out there in Portland. How you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Let me look up the news and find out what's going on out here because I actually have no idea.
And two, like,
I'm like,
our media portrays things in such a very odd way that I think most people think that it's like 100% of Portland is essentially under complete chaos.
Yeah.
And that's not what things are. It's
very
small.
The downtown area, which is actually, it's kind of interesting. My wife, she came down from Vancouver, BC, and I don't know what it's like in like other large cities, but when she first came down, she's like, hey, let's go out. Let's go downtown. I'm like,
why?
Well, why? There's nothing. And she'd like, it took a while before she started, like there's a few nice restaurants down there, a couple, but like everything that's like all our cultural centers and where people like great food or activities are actually in different areas around town.
Yeah.
And our downtown area is businesses and then apartments.
That's it.
Which is why like that's where the protests and stuff going on, because that's where a lot of those people live and they can't
get out.
They can't get out.
Right. And for us, it's, man, I just like part of the stuff we had planned on the trip was, we'd planned to spend some time in Portland, and as well as we're going to do Seattle. And then the same with I had a Ruck event that I had signed up for, this 50-mile Ruck event that was going to be in San Francisco middle of next month. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not driving my truck into those places, and part of my feeling on that is like my truck draws enough attention as it is. It is a large black, could be taken as military-esque.
Right. Yep.
Look, it's like I don't want to have to deal with someone and be like, I'm on your side.
Right.
What's the problem here?
Exactly.
It's just a vehicle.
Yeah. No.
So I'll avoid that hassle.
How do you think it is driving around a big giant diesel truck in Portland area, and people like
Priuses?
They automatically judge who you are, your motivations, like all this sort of stuff, and it's like
they know 100% of your political standing based on your vehicle.
Very different. Like I'm like I drove a little electric car for 3 years. Like it's just somehow. Your vehicle defines.
Well, it lets us know everything about your voting.
Exactly, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Your truck, you are not wearing a mask. It's crazy, right? That we've become that split. Mm-hmm. That you can base one thing and decide
off of consumer.
Yeah.
Defund
the media.
Yeah.
There's the problem.
Yeah.
But they want us split. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
If we all get along, things also get really confusing. But it's enough of that.
Yeah,
Man,
let's move on.
This isn't Matt's political show. I'm not terribly smart. I make T-shirts for a living. Don't fucking take any information from me. Threw rocks in a field.
Oh God.
You're moving facilities. You're
expanding. That's why we're sitting in this blank, nondescript room right now, because it is the only one we could find a place to sit down in. So yeah, we just leased basically our third space in this complex, and are moving our gym, all our administration and coaching offices to expand our manufacturing once again.
Okay, so manufacturing is going to take over the whole space.
That entire other building is going to be manufacturing and warehouse and shipping. So, and then, actually we're looking for another space already because it's actually full. So we're bursting at the seams now, which is, an issue trying to be able to keep up when we can't house the inventory coming back from our plating vendors and things like that. And so this is going to be a really good step for us. But like to add any products to our line, which would be great.
Would be great
to be able to service the industry right now. But we can't get other products out, like some racking solutions or other things that would be great for people to throw up in their garage. We just don't have the space to manufacture.
Well, not only
right
that,
now,
like everything you're making takes up so much room. Like there's a big difference in headache between me, like, oh, I have 1,000 T-shirts that need to go on shelves.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 barbells.
Think about 1,000 barbells.
That's a lot of
right?
fucking barbells. Yeah, 1,000 Cadillac bars take up some space.
Yeah. Plus the machines to make the parts.
And the machines to make the parts.
The team of welders on a couple shifts cranking out parts. And, and then you've got to have it, welded product, get it painted, and then get it back. And so you've got all that in several different stages. So, yeah, it's Yep.
Yeah, that headache is.
Yep. Well, it's crazy. I mean, we've been ramping hard, and we were doing so beforehand because we were behind.
Right.
And it's a tough thing when you release new products that the market's never seen before. You can't do market research. You don't know what the demand. You make your best guesses and then try to respond as fast as possible. And we're getting better with that. But actually, during this, this time that basically all the manufacturers, everybody's sold out. They can't even tell you dates and so on. We've actually held our position or even improved it. The only one that we moved maybe a little bit backward on is the transformer bar.
Is that just because of the new design?
The new design. So we had that new design scheduled to release at the beginning of April, right? And that was, you plan that way out. So that was like 6 months. We were planning on doing this transition. And, there's a lot of stuff in the works that had to happen. But, think about this environment. Now, all of a sudden, as you're walking through the process, your vendors have cut their staff in half, or you can't go on site to go, hey, we're having this issue with a plating problem. Can we look at what you're doing so we can design something, maybe a racking solution so that you can go through your dip tanks or whatever. And all of a sudden, you don't have the ability to do this stuff.
That's weird.
So your communication shut down, your ability to deal with problems. So all of a sudden, that timeline just like, we know what that timeline is, and we had planned around that. All of a sudden, it completely changed for us,
right?
Because we obviously, if
we
had some sort of foresight, like even in January, nobody knew really what was going to happen. In February, nobody knew what was going to happen. So, but if somehow we had, we definitely would have, not chosen to do that during this time,
right?
But still, at the same time, I'm so happy to have that out there. Like, this product is just taking that. Functionality is exactly the same. So anybody out there that has a transformer bar, it does the exact same thing. So there's nothing new for positions, what it's going to deliver for your body, anything like that. What it is it's way more user-friendly to be able to adjust. Any minor issues that we may have had, with finishes or other just small little things we've all cleaned up and then made it really user-friendly.
Right.
As in the ability to be able to have it sit in your gym and you not have to explain it to everybody. This is how it is. You got to reference this chart over here, that it's on the bar and pretty straightforward, that people are used to. You walk up to a machine and it shows you, this is going to work your hamstrings.
You don't have this many options.
And here's the click button to go here to do these sorts of things.
Right, almost like the Prime equipment.
It's exact. So it's built like a machine. We've made it more like a machine in that concept, or how they're designed, where you go up, these are the results I want, click, 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 boom, it's there. And so I'm really, really happy about, the changes in this product. It's been something we've been working on probably for over a year, like soliciting input from like all of our different people that we've sold to, reviews, like how we've been using it for years. And we just wanted to capture all of it. And just and get this out there so that it could really be, because it has such a huge impact on people.
Dude, so the Transformer bar has been it's a game changer for me with my knee being beat up. So I like what's basically a goblet squat. So the further I can sit back and keep a vertical shin, I have less shear force. It's great for me for rehab. And then to use it as a Hatfield squat as well, your neck setup fits well and stays in place. And so that being a big deal with a Hatfield squat, because, man, being under one that gets squirrely feels...
Well, a lot of people don't realize why ours is so comfortable and sits so well in there, but actually inside, under the pad, those handles are bent, and it rolls around your trap, which also does some things. The reason I included that in the design was there's some areas, a lot of times, a safety squat bar is used in rehab situations, and a lot of times for shoulder, neck issues. And some of those people get de-innervation problems.
Because it pushes too hard on a nerve and it shuts the CNS down.
Exactly. So it's just this 1 point dropping pressure on there. So does everybody get that? No. Does a high percentage of people get that? No. But I'm like, let's do this and distribute the load of the trap.
But it's never a
and
thing
then we
that
found
if
out,
you
like,
fix.
oh my God, it's so comfortable, and it just sits, like it just feels better.
It's a thing that if you fix, it's never going to affect the people that didn't have the problem.
Yeah.
It's just better.
It's an extra step. It's one of the other things that really differentiate it from other products out there.
Right.
And then, like you said, you can do so much with it.
Yeah.
Right now we're working with, we're outfitting the NBA.
Okay.
So all the directly.
They should be.
Because, we're all, 95% of MLB teams use our products. We're growing, at the same pace in the NFL. We were working with all the NBA teams, and actually the NBA players, I'm not going to name names, but basically all those top people that you know, the team's been using our bars, and it goes into shutdown, and they're like, hey, can you get a bar for...
LaRon names?
Yeah. And everybody else that he works with on the starting line, for their home gym.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so
what a weird thing.
But yeah, the playoffs are getting started. And so they have everybody that's unique. So they have everybody, in the same area, and basically some of the same training centers for a couple different teams. And so the NBA contacted us directly and said, hey, can we get some of your bars into these areas? And
it's a cool email to
but
get.
Anyway,
NBA. We from them.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of and who we work with.
Well, some of those are you just assume reading it the first time that it's some weird spam.
It's one of the first orders we shipped is going to. I guess it's okay to say. I don't know. The Rock's just ordered four of our new ones. He was using the other ones that go to all his different places he's going to be at
for
cool
traveling.
Setup, man. But these people have the choice of buying and using.
Buy whatever they want.
Any bar in the world.
Yeah.
They're not asking for freebies. They're not asking it's just I get to use anything. Money doesn't matter.
That's one thing I've really heard about him. The handful of people that I know that know him personally. Whether that's been my buddy who's a tattoo artist that has done all of his recent work or any of these other type of stuff that he said he's one of the few guys at that level that he's tattooed, and I mean as if there's that many people at that level at this point, that showed up by himself for the appointment. I mean, showed up when the shop was closed, but showed up by himself and paid and then tipped. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't done as you tattooing me as a favor.
Yeah. Well, I have such respect for this man. The way he just presents such leadership as a human being.
Yeah.
And he has a huge audience, all the reasons that he could be totally different Ray. And he is down to earth and just straight up, is putting out lessons all the time about just how to be a better human being.
Person.
Yeah. And so I just, I'm not usually a starstruck individual or anything like that, but I've got such mad respect for that man.
It's a tough one to not be with him.
I'm like, man, can you just run for president or something?
Oh, shit, right?
I might actually vote again.
Dude, it's better than the current shit sandwich we're going to get in November?
What do you do?
Right. That's how I feel about it. And that's something I've told people. I was like, look, I don't fall into that category thinking that not voting means you're not you're not getting a say.
Why would I put a say in a system that the system isn't working for
the two-party system that gives us these two options is not
working. And so you have to vote. I'm like, what, vote and show that I'm supporting the system that is flawed?
I'd rather see a 2% voter turnout. and then something has to be addressed.
Something has to be done. Like,
well,
exactly.
we're still already only seeing a 25%.
So,
like,
maybe that's the reason right there.
Yeah, I know. That was the only hope I really had for this current situation, is that I really wanted Trump to come in and, I mean, as someone who didn't vote for him, I wanted him to come in and at least be like, here's a really logical thing we're trying to get done. Here's why we can't. And, like, point out the fucking senators or whoever it is that's in the way.
Yep.
And be like, and that's because they're getting paid from this guy who's lobbying. Like, fucking just start cutting them.
Right.
But that ain't what we've seen.
Nothing ever, like, it just, the same stuff just keeps rolling.
We're currently dealing with him. Finally has said the masks are okay. Which is good. I'm glad the American people take their science advice from a reality show host and not from the doctor that we've hired to run that part of the country. But, I mean, teach their own, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I can't.
No, there's so much there.
Either way, like I said, I don't get into politics because it just.
I disagree with both.
It just doesn't.
Because logic hasn't been used on either side in forever.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't. Yeah.
No, it's fucking wild, man. So with the new Transformer bar, can you, as I haven't got to put my hands on one yet, can you change the angle on the bar with weight still on the sleeve?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
It's freaking awesome. You pull the pins and just push
That's
the
what I
handle.
was thinking. It
Yeah.
would just work. I'm like,
And
man,
so-
that's a huge
And especially
step.
like people training together that maybe you want to use different settings. I mean,
Right.
you can't change the distance apart, but you can do so much. You can even do, this is awesome, loaded drop sets. So a mechanical drop set.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because you could have 2 plates on the bar.
Right.
And you could start
Change
with a
the
heavy
angle.
position, like your goblet squat, go to fatigue, boom, boom, and just keep going. Whoa. Like you're stripping plates, but you're doing it mechanically, which is also targeting different areas. And like it's pretty
man.
fun. Anyway, it's so, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I just immediately started thinking about, like, so we were in Montana at the beginning of the trip training with Rob and Dana. And Dana's such a machine in the gym. It's unreal.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be her cup of tea. Like, oh, here, we can fry myself. Dude, she can out-suffer most of them. She's impressive, dude.
That's where a lot of success comes from, doesn't it?
Yep. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. I've run through your book twice. I really, really enjoyed it. So your kids are going to get to grow up a very different lifestyle than you grew up.
Yes.
What important stuff of the travel and camping and a bit more nomadic growing up do you think is important to bestow for people who won't live that way?
Yeah. So this is something that I wouldn't say keeps me up at night, but it is something I'm really trying to figure out. As a parent, you really want to do the best that you can for your kids. But I've also seen what happens to people, not necessarily all people, but when everything is handed to them and you never have to work for it.
I don't know what level that is, but there is a point where you can't have normal kids.
So just like, struggling with starting Kabuki and some of the phases along the way with keeping it afloat and moving and really defining like what's going to work and what's not. If I'd had the ability to just go get funding and just tap into it, I may not have what I have.
That's true.
Because it made me dig deeper and reach farther. So it's like, what if my kids want to be an entrepreneur and they come to me with like, Dad, here's this great idea. Can you fund it? The answer is probably going to be no.
Right.
No. I want you to work on it more. I want you to go get some funding from somebody else.
Well, how do you start from scale and build?
And once you get to a point, like whatever, here's the milestones or whatever it is, I'm in. And I want you to know I'm here to support you 100%.
Right.
But they're not going to understand that fully.
No,
right?
it's tough, right? To be like, look,
So,
I'm looking at this as an investment, and you're approaching me as a lender, and I need to know that this is a solid plan going forward, and then I'm on board.
Yep. Exactly.
Same way your bank treats
I
you.
will be there to support you, but you're going to have to do some more work than just because I'm your dad.
Yeah, which is good because the bicycle shop I opened out of college, I borrowed some money from family and had to pay that back. That was a lesson learned.
Yeah. So, you know, and one thing I do appreciate with where I'm at, though, is my ability to have my kids with me at work.
Yeah.
To be able to show them things. Because I didn't learn about business or what it takes to be successful in this world at that level until I was, like, in the middle of it.
Right.
Like, I didn't have a grasp. I had no concept of, like, what it is to have, like, a regular job.
Right. Yeah, I mean, essentially,
I
can't even imagine.
I had to learn everything. Like, actually, even this is a funny story. I remember I was going to college, almost completely unrelated, but it shows you, like, what I had to learn. And I was kind of dating this girl, and we were talking, and she's like, I love, spaghetti. And I'm like, I love spaghetti too. Once you come to my house, I'll fix you some up. And so she came over to my place, and I cook up some spaghetti, and which was heated sauce on noodles. She's
right,
like,
that's spaghetti.
She's like, where's the meat? I'm like, the what? The what? We're having spaghetti. You didn't ask for a steak.
Right.
Just like I didn't have touch with a lot of like normal things. And so, that environment. So being able to like have them immersed in that and growing up and being able to talk some of those things, like my kids, both of them, 8 years old and 11 years old yesterday, were asking me on the drive home. We're discussing. They're like, well, what careers pay well? So we're talking about different careers, advantages, different disadvantages related to them. So that's really good. And so I really appreciate the ability to kind of, foster that piece of it. And at the same time, like, that's how they earn money. Like, it's, you want something for your Minecraft. They know that they've got to find a job.
There's work.
And I have here's the hourly rate I earn. Right. And it's a job at home, it's a job at work. It's like, Dad, I'm cleaning the gym today for 2 hours, okay? I'm like, all right,
sick.
Go to it.
Be a nice $18. Yeah, I remember my first job that was minimum wage. I worked at a gas station in high school, and I cooked in this kitchen. And so, like, I would get there. So we had our big service was either hunters or refinery workers. And so, like, I would get to work at 3:15 and then start cooking. And we would sell, like, 300 sandwiches every morning. I don't know why this gas station in the middle of Sulphur, Louisiana, it was the spot to come get your food.
Apparently, yeah.
And so I would stand at a stove from 3:45 a.m. until almost noon, just cooking bacon in a pan. They did it all in a pan, in a skillet. And so took a long time for bacon to be back on my menu.
Yeah.
30 pounds, everything. Dog loves you when you get home. Yep. That's the only real thing. It's like, what's up? You smell great. Yeah. Like, these clothes need to be burned.
It's not a bad thing. You needed a break.
$5.15 an hour.
That was my first. No. I started. Minimum wage was $4.75 when I started, and I remember bumping to $5.15. I was a dishwasher at the time, just cranking dishes all day long. Went to $5.15, and oh man, it was good. I remember me and I think 2 of my friends, we pulled and went to the bank and cashed all our paychecks so we could have $1,000 in our hands
to hold.
And then then it went to me, and then it went like, no, I get to hold it now. And yes, we did like, but we were 16 years old.
Of course.
Like,
oh man, I remember doing that with money and like just having $200 cash and like getting it all in ones and being like, nice. I am rich. Have every penny that you have to your name.
And then go to the record store and buy an overpriced CD.
Buy everything. Yeah, it's weird that shift in mindset that goes from saving money as an adult because you save money and then saving money because there's a thing I want. Yes. These are different savings. And it's like, well, we got enough money to buy the thing. Now we go buy the thing. Now we're back to zero.
I'm definitely not in the saving money arena. So, getting Kabuki started, I put everything I had, all my everything I've worked for the last 20 years on the line. And now I'm trying to put that back slowly.
Yeah, sure.
But we haven't got to the savings phase yet.
Yeah, it's Well, you mean
But,
you're running this and not just raking in millions of dollars personally a year? That's what everyone just assumed. Like if you're running your own business and they know the name of it, they're like, he's rich.
Yeah, yeah,
like, fuck,
exactly.
Man, I live in a truck.
Like, yeah. Do you know what how much money is wrapped up in that business?
Right. Yeah. The business is worth a lot. And me personally,
yeah, exactly.
No, that's exactly what it feels like. And then,
oh man, I just got turned down for that Target credit card.
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Just kidding. I didn't apply for it.
Perfect.
I didn't want to get turned down.
No, it didn't. Got this nice business and this 460 credit score. It's going great. Man, I love seeing what you guys have done. The difference in barbells and the quality of manufacturing, and then like it's simple details to me. Like even the Cadillac Bar, which is a bar that I've used as a football bar for people who aren't that familiar with the basic concept of it. But man, it's so much more comfortable, and then the fact that it's got the arc in it, it wants to stay in your hand, whereas otherwise it wants to rotate on this axis that goes through the middle of the handles.
Yeah. Now, if you bench less than like 185, 200 pounds, you're not going to notice that.
Right. You can
so
you'll
be able to control that enough that it doesn't come into play.
You start adding bands and doing stuff like that.
But you do anything else, like anybody that, and this is why, like like everybody I know that's been a big lifter for a long time, they hate football bars.
Right.
They're just like,
because they rotate.
And it's just, as soon as you come out of the rack, it wants to crush your face.
Yeah,
and actually, that's one of the things we got to teach people is like, no, you don't have to choke up on the front side of it anymore to prep for that. Actually, just
go where
grab
you're
it in the center where it's supposed to be, and they'll automatically still go do the same thing again.
Try not to die.
It's not going to kill you like the other ones.
Yeah, that little simple change in the.
Oh, I love that. Did you see the video with JP Price?
Yeah.
Yeah, so JP Price, if you don't know, he's one of the best,
one of the greatest dudes ever.
Yeah, he's a great guy, but he's a phenomenal power lifter. Had a 6 bench is not his specialty, squatting is, but he's got a 640-pound competition bench. Not too shabby.
Oh, that's so much
anyway,
weight.
There's a great video that, and we use it in our marketing because it shows like I've got a video where I talk through the physics of why this happens, but actually being able to show people.
Yeah.
So JP sends me this video. He's like, man, the Cadillac Bar's not here yet, but I got anxious, so I went to do a floor press with the football bar, and I did 500 pounds. And he's like, man, I'm hurt. Like, he's like, I've been doing rehab all week, and so literally the next press was 500 pounds to a floor press, so exactly the same range of motion. Everything's the same, right? And he does it a week later while he's still recovering. And he texts me in the video, and it's like it goes from this thing that moves all over, and you can see why he got jacked up, to 500 pounds, and it's just perfect smooth press. And he's like, actually, I felt better afterwards. Like it moved me forward,
dude. It's
because it's if you have this is going to affect this.
Yeah, this is supposed to stay stacked. Otherwise, as soon as you're compromised, your
stack
body's
all
like,
this,
stop.
Yeah.
It starts putting the brakes on shit.
And it doesn't mean like holding it tighter isn't going to fix it if the load. So it's a seesaw.
Right.
Or teeter-totter. So if you ever go into a playground, a teeter-totter will always be on one side or the other. It has to.
It never just sits.
It has to be. There is a perfect balance point, but it's infinitely in a certain spot, which means you actually can't ever find it.
Get good at it.
Right? So this is what happens. We've got a line of axis, which is the beam it's mounted on, and on that, at 90 degrees, is another bar. That's the handle at 90 degrees. So as soon as you go off center with a handle on a bar, this is what happens. Mm-hmm. Unless you put the load below the hand.
Right.
And it doesn't take much, just a little bit.
It's the same way a kettlebell sits in your hand because the load's below it.
Exactly.
Like, amazing how much easier it is to hold a kettlebell, like as a farmer's carry, even with a bigger handle, than it is to carry dumbbells.
Yes.
Because dumbbells want to fucking roll.
Exactly.
That's what makes them hard. Kettlebell just pulls down.
This is why everybody with trap bars wants to hold the high handle position. They think it's the less range of motion, but it's just also the fact it's not
it wants
trying to go away from you.
Yep.
So
Takes
the
that
low
other
handle
equation
position,
out.
or the bars that only have a low handle position, they're always, especially if you want to do single leg work, it gets even worse. right?
Right.
Because you're going to walk, you're going to lunge, you're going to do something, and it already is all over the place. So our low handle position is actually offset just a little bit.
Just a bit.
3/8 of an inch. It makes all the difference.
It doesn't have
of the
to be
world.
much.
So this range of motion is essentially the same.
Yeah, gravity's your
But
friend.
these are small details that nobody thinks about.
Well, it's been a long time since that innovative barbell design was done by people who've lifted heavy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and for the most part, it's people out there, they're manufacturers, and they look at what's selling.
Yeah, and we make that.
And they go, we're going to make that. And we look at it, we have a completely different viewpoint. We don't release a product unless it fits something, a gap that we see based on our principles around movement and loading. So we come at it from an education perspective first. And that's why we don't create anything and everything.
Right.
If it's already out there and executed
well,
or
broke.
it doesn't add any there's no reason for us. It's already out there.
Right.
Because I'm not trying to sell everything.
Right. I don't see you manufacturing square squat racks.
I'm trying to have a positive impact on the market. So we're filling the gaps and creating things that aren't there. Unfortunately, that's why it's been kind of slow getting Kabuki started, because people didn't understand our products first, because they're like, well, why would I pay, $600 for a safety squat bar? I'm like, well, it's not. Well, it is. It's just a fancy one. And I'm like, people will figure this out. And then they did after the first couple of years, and they get out there and people start using them, like yourself. Like, you can't mimic that stuff with another bar. You can't do what you're
my
doing
best
there.
bet is like a kettlebell held way out front. But then
your shoulders can only.
Right, then there's so much other compromise in the system that I'm not getting stronger.
You're not training the areas that you want to train.
Right, and that's been huge. Just figuring out ways that I can tax the legs, but not piss off the injuries.
Yeah, and that's why we've done so well in the sports performance market.
Right,
600 plus colleges, basically every major D1 school that you think of that you're a fan of, they probably have our products.
Well, but that's one of those things that I think
every professional sport in North America. Yeah.
I think your average lifter doesn't understand the difference between the demands of like high-level athletes in that arena and someone who's powerlifting.
Yeah.
Right? Athletes in that arena, everything in the gym's GPP. So why wouldn't we do what creates the most stimulus and adaptation with the lowest risk of injury?
Exactly.
That's the whole goal.
Maximize the training effect and reduce the risk.
Exactly. Whereas, look, I understand that these guys never need to have a total. It's a fucking terrible idea for them to ever max out on a back squat.
There's the ego thing. Like, if you put a Cadillac bar in your hands, you're going to bench less. Right. It's harder.
That'd fix it.
It's going to make you a lot stronger, though, and reduce your risk of injury.
Right. Whereas,
but you're not going to be benching that 3 plates or whatever it was that you did before. It's going to be a little less.
Yeah. If that's what you need to feel good about your training, then good luck till you're hurt. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, and your throwing background. I mean, we deal with a ton of Olympic athletes.
Because
shot and discus throwers are
I don't
huge
need to
on
know
our
what my
products.
lifts are. And I was always an athlete that I didn't want to be the strongest guy coming in 7th. That doesn't make sense. I'd rather be weaker and win. It's whatever.
Well, this will get you stronger and win. So
perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, and especially Cadillac Bar, being able to use band attachments and stuff like that. You add bands to a regular football bar, and it really wants to get squirrely on you because, of course, it's never centered, so they want to twist one way on you or the other. And, you don't want to lift on a thing that feels like a bamboo bar that you're chasing stability on and chasing max weight at the same time.
There's a time and place for that, but they're different things.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that we don't want unstable loads at times.
No, totally
do. That's a different training modality.
Right.
And it delivers a result. It does not deliver the same thing when you increase the intensity. There's a time for adding weight.
Right.
And our products are meant for adding weight, but making sure that we're in the right positions, the joints aren't compromised. And some people, that's why I was referring to NBA and the MLB, they're outliers for what a lot of these guys can't. We mentioned
the fact that the NBA players can do anything.
People love to that squat looks like shit. They can't
He's
do a back
tall.
squat. That person is not built to have a load at that point and be able to execute the same move that you're moving.
Look at his skeleton. It's terrifying looking.
Those lever links are completely different.
We got a motion sensor light?
Yep.
Lights just shut off. We got to get those bills paid.
Yeah.
Order yourself some kabuki bars. We'll keep the lights on in here. There we go. We're back in it. Our lovely assistant, Bonnie, she can turn on all the lights. Yeah, and so now that I'm in the area up here, what area did you grow up in?
Okay. So the first half of my book is actually Northern California.
Okay.
So this would be like kind of, you know where Redding is or Sacramento. So
yeah.
It'd be west of that.
Okay.
But east of being on the coast. So not quite on the coast. So the mountain ranges that run up through there. So a lot of people think of Humboldt. Sierra Nevadas would be east of the Central Valley.
Makes sense toward
Nevada. Be west. So it's the mountain ranges coming up. So basically the coastline that we have here in Oregon. Mm-hmm. So the one that's just west of us here in Portland is running all the way down and be in that mountain range.
Gotcha.
Those mountain ranges there. And then in Oregon, it was in Central Oregon, so the Bend area.
Which is desert.
Yes. So there's desert regions and then there's mountain regions. So we lived in the desert and we lived up in the mountains around that area. And then I spent a little bit of time, 5 years down in Southern Oregon at Klamath Falls, going to school and working before moving to Portland. So I've been in Portland for 20 years now.
20 years, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's neat. It's neat as I travel, like getting to put actual places with a thing. Man, there was a weird podcast I'd listened to called STown years ago. It's NPR did it. It's this shit town, is I guess what it's referring to, is this little shithole city in Alabama. And this crazy guy has this wild story. It's a good listen. But the guy's a lunatic. He's like fucking building clocks or something in his warehouse out back, and so he's also getting like mercury poisoning because he's smelting weird shit. And, like, just the dude's off the rails. But like I remember as I was listening to it, I was driving through that area and like had passed through the city. And I'm like, oh shit! Like, this adds up. It's kind of neat that it becomes an actual place instead of this word.
Yep.
You know, yeah. And we're camping around the area, so I definitely want to look at some stuff with you to figure out a couple spots around here to hit up.
I'll help you out.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
You might have to listen to an hour or two dissertation about the amazing different areas in Oregon because. My wife will laugh at me.
Yeah.
But because I'm a fanatic for the Northwest. So
good, man. The woods up here are so different. And we got, so our luck with camping like this, I've got an app I use that does a pretty good job of campsites, whether they are campgrounds or dispersed. And we try to do dispersed as much as possible.
Right.
But picnic tables are a nice luxury occasionally.
Yep.
So is the shower. So we've just been national forest is the way to go because you can just camp wherever you want.
Yep.
And
for 2 weeks.
Right. We're never stationary for 2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks after they find you and tell you.
Like we just got here yesterday.
That's what we did growing up.
It's always the day. Yeah.
We've been there for like 3 months. They're like, you need to move. Yep, in 2 weeks.
Yep.
We just got here. Like it's clear. We're like
you have a farm.
We're living like
crops are growing.
Yeah.
And so doing that and camping like that, like last night we got to camp late last night. We had to do a quick photo shoot at gym, and so made it in. And so we're in the Snoqualmie?
Yep.
Snoqualmie National Forest, and found a forest road, driving down it, and then find one off the main road to dive down to see where we can find a decent spot. And we come across this like it looks like an abandoned Land Rover ambulance, like old military ambulance build, right? No windshield. Looks like the glass is all removed. There's books up in the top rack and all this other stuff. So it was just down this road far enough to be like, okay, there's abandoned car, so we'll move on. So we drove up the road further and then decided to head back to a different spot we'd seen. And on the way back, I turned on the lights to get a look at it, and this arm lifts up in the back like someone's sleeping.
Yep.
And just genuinely got creeped out. Like, it's been a long time since like I had that feeling of like completely unprepared to see that, and I was like, oh shit.
So yeah, Northern California, especially along that coast range, is definitely like that. There's like homesteads out there, like these trailers. People been out there forever. You know, they homesteaded the land or whatever it is, or they just. It gets scary and sketchy.
Yeah,
like there's. You
Just
come
people to be
across
left
stuff
alone.
and you're like, yeah,
Well, that's like the Ruby Ridge stuff.
Like
or-
you're out in the middle of nowhere and you come across like some mobile home that's been dumped down,
Right.
and it
standalone mobile home. They got kicked out of the trailer park. Like,
yes,
these
yes.
people to
and
leave
they're
alone.
like in the middle of nowhere, some goats running around,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's just kind of scary.
Yeah,
like,
be
it's
polite
hard
and
to
move
describe.
on.
Yeah.
Well, there is a feeling of all of the normal rules don't apply here.
And the reality is they don't.
They don't.
So this is the scary part that a lot of people don't realize, that it is very dangerous when you're away from society. People will react differently and do things that they would never normally do.
Yep.
And you can read about some of it in my book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is also where people that need to hide from
They go.
society or authority go.
Luckily,
This is, you do not, like, it is not the same environment. It is not. You need to be, like, prepared to protect yourself. I mean, my mom and my sister still, work a mining claim out in the middle of the mountains. And they have so many stories of having to sit there with a gun in their lap or wherever because there's somebody there that they're worried is going to take their life or what, because it is a different world.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
and it's not like I'm saying everybody's like that.
No, of
but
course not.
That's definitely not the case. So I don't want to send the wrong message.
No, but it's not a fear that you're talking about. It's an awareness.
It is an awareness because there are people, bad people, that are hiding.
Yes, at some point,
there's people that behave themselves because of societal norms, and when that shift happens to them, and they may not even be aware of that, that stuff goes out the window. It is like Mad Max,
right?
Like people, there is bad shit, and it can happen. And I've got lots of stories, the ones I didn't even share in my book, because it wasn't about how bad I had it. Those were all stories to articulate certain messages.
Yeah, and a point.
And so it wasn't to show anything and everything that's been horrible or that I've seen. So
the only thing I try to use to like calm myself down like in those situations is like being creeped out last night and then like we're still out in the woods and like who's out here blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Is most people don't want to hassle.
Yes.
Especially people that have moved out to the woods to be left the fuck alone.
Yes.
Just continue to leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as we saw him move, like lights all turned off and I was like, I'm sorry, and we just left. I just thought it was an abandoned truck. I'm just interested in the truck.
Go back your way.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We're
but
leaving.
You're not going to set up camp next to him.
No. He's there alone for a reason. He probably wanted to be.
Yeah.
He's not looking for company. Also, historically, if I'm looking at mass murderers, you're Jason and these all stories that attack campers, that's far more movie. It never really works out that way. Like, for the same reason that people are panicked about like, oh, don't pick up a hitchhiker. It could be a killer. Mm-hmm. Historically, hitchhikers have gotten the bad end of this deal way more than the other way around. Yeah, hitchhikers are the ones that go missing, not the driver. So, yeah, it's that. Yeah, that distance, man. That being out there, like there is a certain that element of it, kind of needing to be prepared, and that being left alone is also what we like about being out there, is that I don't have to fit in with all the other bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, it's weird, like especially when I go into the desert, because you go into some of the areas of Oregon, and you may not see opposing traffic for like 3 hours,
right?
Driving on these that like people. No, it's desert. Like there's
like Wyoming.
There's nothing there.
There's fucking no one there.
Like you go spend a week or two out there. And then you start driving, and slowly after a few hours, you start seeing people. And then you get into a small town, and you're like, there's so much I can't. Why all these people? I don't like. It's just like this weird, like, welcome back to society, and you're not ready for it.
No.
So, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh man,
yeah.
we've gone off the grid a few times and disappeared. Like one of which when we went to Costa Rica for New Year's and took part in some ayahuasca ceremonies and stuff like that. And we smart enough that on the back end of that 7 days of that, we booked a few nights at an Airbnb to reacclimate.
Yes. Yeah.
We decided International Airport isn't the first place I want to deal with people after this spiritual kind of change, right? Like no thanks. I'll slowly bring myself back into this and wean myself back part of it. But man, it's I don't know, it's nice being like on the road like this. It just simplifies things because you know what the tasks are that day. You know what it's time to almost recalibrate, kind of like where I want direction to go, and the creative side kind of comes back.
Well, this is something that a lot of people don't think about or don't do, is creating space in their life for those reflective moments. And that's something I've always done in my career. Even the executive portions, I would like take a Friday afternoon and block it out of my schedule every week. And that was my time to reflect on what had gone well in the week, what hadn't, what did I wanted to prioritize, and what I wanted to accomplish the next week, instead of just being in it all the time. Well, and I talk about on a few podcasts recently, I recently put a nice little mini hot tub off of our balcony, right off our master bedroom. So every night, me and my wife go sit in there, have a glass of wine, and reflect and about where we're going, the stuff that we're working on. It's just like this time for us together to like have that, and it is a really important thing, because it gets, when you're in the moment, and you lose it. Like, this is why one of the reasons I was really successful in my prior career, because I'd come in and replace people that had been working their ass off. They meant well, and they might have been running around with their hair on fire, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and doing stuff, filling their time, making them feel like they knew they weren't successful at the time, so they were trying to be successful by doing things.
Right, that's a weird.
Like, what am I doing that's not like, how can I eliminate what I'm doing, and then create the time to think about and understand really what needs to happen. Well, what's going to drive the actual change, instead of just like checking things off my list, doing reports, doing so on. You've got to have that creative space.
And I think if you're always working and always doing in this environment, say like this room, then all the problems you tend to want to solve work on this room. But if you can separate yourself and give yourself that space, and then you realize like, oh, we have a whole building.
Yep.
Or there isn't a building. This is just a thing.
Yep.
And we can replicate.
Well, and you saw my war rig is currently, I can't work on it. It got shoved in the corner. Car lift got taken down because we're full of capacity.
Poor stepchild car.
But in another couple of weeks, they'll be back. And when it is, I take like an afternoon here or there, and I go work on it.
Yeah.
And what am I doing? I'm thinking.
It's mindfulness.
I'm thinking about things that are going to, those bigger picture things.
Right. You're tinkering. Your hands are busy.
My hands are doing.
That's exactly right.
But I'm actually putting myself in this space to be able to go,
see,
what's the next new product? What's the, what's
that's
the
what
change
cycling
like?
has become for me. Is I get to go do this thing that the body is completely being used, because I need a fidget toy, but for the whole thing. That, there's a difference. Like, lifting's great, but if I'm lifting, I'm typically pretty focused on it.
Yes.
I want the task at hand, so I don't get to wander while I'm doing it.
Well, I do now.
Right. Now I do.
Because that is like what I like. But when I'm like prepping or doing something big,
or chasing, one of the big goals,
and that's the way a lot of people train too. Is like, maybe it's not that same thing, but it's something focused. It's a direction, and there's a level of intensity that keeps you away from tapping into that arena.
Right.
And so it can be that. Lifting can be that, but often it's not.
Yeah.
For me now it is, because I can just get in that zone and just pull through it. I just do these, I'm training for 45, 60 minutes. I'm not worried about what I'm, how much I'm lifting. I need to be squatting this by this date or this sort of thing. And it allows me to have some time again in that space.
Yeah. And it's nice being in that new chapter of training.
Yeah,
And
it is.
And figuring out how to embrace it, because man, there was a period of time with that where I was really lost in the woods with like, fuck are we doing here? Like, I'm not lifting the way I want to lift. I don't have like a goal or carrot to chase involving this. It's like I'm just here because I know I'm supposed to, and I know that it helps because it's good for me, but I don't like this. Like, I want to do a thing, and you know, fuck, man.
And it seems a lot of people have trouble grasping that, because I get a lot of questions or just statements saying, I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to get bored. There's no way I can just walk away from it. I'm like, do you look at my life beyond lifting? Like, because I've got plenty of nasty, gnarly goals to chase to keep that competitive thing. Yeah. And like, I was actually excited to get to the point.
I know.
Like, that was one of the things I had trouble with, is like keeping my focus on the squat when I was also ready to move on to that next phase.
Right.
And, you know, I spent 30 years. Over 30 years. I started training in 1988, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously not, only half that time was really at a competitive level. The early years were not. It was, an adjunct to sport or life or whatever. But
yeah, wrestling and then whatever else.
So, so I was ready for that.
It's amazing to me that people get
maybe I'll
so
come back
hung up.
someday.
And maybe you will, right?
Maybe I'll come back and say, hey, I want to go after some 50-plus records or something like that,
But I think people get so caught up in an identity, and that identity, like, I'm a power lifter. I lift, You see people really have a tough time hanging it up. This was never supposed to be a thing you could do forever.
Yeah.
This is a controlled burn.
Yeah.
And, like, set fire to it, but understand you're on the clock.
Yeah.
And
but is that for the people that can do it? That's the beautiful thing about powerlifting, is the age classes.
Yes.
And that you can continue to stay with it.
Yes.
For basically your whole life, if you want to, and still chase that competitive desire, that all those sorts of things, because there's not necessarily a time limit on that.
Yeah, and I knew for me, competitive, like with the Highland Games, that had I even stayed healthy, I don't think the Masters class was going to be for me. I don't think that I was going to be able to throttle down and have it be as casual.
Yep. Yeah. I never did compete as a submaster or master, even though I only did.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to do.
This is what I'm doing.
And then when that's done, I'll close that chapter and start the next one. Yep. And I tell people that a lot, that like, and again, it's not Chris Stuffin, the world record holder powerlifter. There's so many other facets and assets to the story that, of course, it's multi-sided. Of course, this is a thing you did. And that's what they end up being, right? It's just another thing you did.
Yep. I had this comment, just a random comment on my Instagram yesterday. And somebody just commented, they're like, hey, I love you, Chris, but I still have to have my number one, person be such and such. And it was some lifter or coach. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not sure where that came from, but also, if you want to, if your head figure is a lifter, I'm way that's not me. Right? I've done that as part of what I do, as a part of way of expressing myself and my ability to say, let's chase big things. Let's do big things in life. Let's do
things that scare you.
Exactly. So it's a way that I express that, but I also do that in other ways, and they're all equal.
Well, I mean, everything else that I've done you have into the business.
Exactly.
That's not fucking a comfortable thought to do.
The vehicles will build. Like just so you know, it's one of a kind. There's only one like it in the world that's not done yet. There's lots of things I've done in my life that are all at that level, and there are different ways of expressing that.
Now, how much more of all of those things is the journey, the part you like, than the finished product?
Oh, the journey.
Yeah, the journey's all of it.
That's why you asked me, you're like, so when's it going for sale? And I'm like,
as soon as it's done.
As soon as it's done. like
because I want to build things. I heard Louis C.K. talk about it years ago, because he was talking about walking away from his show, Louis. And, show's doing great, and it's, 4 or 5 seasons in or whatever it was, and they wanted to do 2 more, and he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. And they're like, what do you mean? It's great, and people are watching it. We're paying you a lot. He's like, yeah, but I think I've told that story of this single dad at this point in my life, whenever kind of this reflected my own life and this and that. And he's like, think about it like if what you really love is building airplanes, and you built an awesome airplane, and now you're flying it. Well, you have to land it to build the next airplane because what you like doing is building airplanes.
Right.
You know, and that's that makes a lot of sense to me. Is like, man, I like the journey. Like, no one's writing books about just the view from Everest.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, because you can buy a fucking view. It's a picture. Yep. It's the ride up there that is what it's all about, and that's 8 weeks on the road for us. It's not talking about it. I don't want to read about these places. I want to camp around Mount Rainier and get a feel for it and look at that big, magnificent bastard chasing you around. It's such a big thing.
Yeah.
It looks so out of place, like compared to all the other mountains around it. It's like, I'm just like you guys, right? It just looks like, it looks like Shaquille O'Neal, like in elementary school photos, like with a basketball team. It's just this much taller than everyone. And man, this area is so great for outdoors. And I mean, I also like that it's not 8 million degrees here.
The temperature's moderate, which works for me because I have temperature control issues based on my nervous system disorder. So like a hot area.
So that also does that too.
Yeah, it makes you not sweat and so early cause of death usually because of
congestive heart failure.
Heat stroke and issues related electrolyte, balance stuff. So
will you actually dehydrate but not know it, or
basically, yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, or your temperatures, like people always like make fun of me because I never have a shirt on and like stuff, and like you're doing that. I'm like, yeah. I also do it when the gym's 50 degrees and there's no one in it and there's no camera around, because as soon as I start training, I'm freaking overheating,
burning up,
because I don't really sweat, like I just a little bit. And like the full level of it is 100% no sweat and 100% no pain. So I don't have that.
I'm an opposite, whereas I sweat constantly. If I'm awake, I'm basically dripping wet. So that's going great for me. Moving to other places that have a better climate than Louisiana.
But yeah, I love the climate. And then like we talked about, there's just the mix. There's like some of the forests here are basically like rainforests.
It's wild.
And then there's normal forests. There's the gorges and rivers and straight up desert, like sand desert.
You also
like
get the giant
like,
redwood trees.
Yep.
You get a lot of really
it's just
cool.
so much that you can, like, I can be at the beach in a short period of time. I can be on the mountain. I can be in the desert. I can be like all these places. That's why I'm like, I'll stop there, because I just like go.
It's good. It's good stuff here. And so you said your wife's from Vancouver.
Yep.
Have you been up to Victoria or any of that?
I have not been over to Victoria.
Victoria's really cool. We competed there every year. So with the game, so I luckily got to drag myself.
I have heard nothing about amazing things, but never have actually taken the ferry over there. So
very cool, kind of European feeling city. Mm-hmm. Beautiful on the water. It's a really, really cool town.
Yeah, that would actually probably be a really good vacation to take the kids on. So
I remember being there, and like the one thing we got informed of and going up there with the Highland Games group, like we'd go out to drink after the game or something like that and have beers and dinner. It's apparently like, or it was, Victoria's like a 6-to-1 ratio of women to men.
Oh, really?
Very odd. And so like we would go out for drinks and then like realize we're in a bar and all the other tables are just filled with women. And like, so because there's not a ton of dudes, they'd start just showing up at our table, like talking to us. It's just a really odd, like, what's going on here? What weird Twilight world is Victoria, Canada.
That is strange.
Yeah, definitely a very, very interesting, interesting thing. We had people follow us from bar to bar. Just,
Dang.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a group of weird dudes. Just a bunch of heavy guys cruising around town.
Heavy guys to throw things.
Yeah, it's a weird sport, man. It's been fun, though. Been super, super fun.
Are you still involved at any level with it? I know you're not competing. But
No, very little. I did some announcing for a few years, and a lot of that was just me being able to have an excuse to hang out with the guys that I was still competing with.
Right.
But there's only 1 or 2 guys now that are still doing it that were my core dudes that I threw with, and so it's okay being. I love the sport, and I'm happy to promote it, and I think it's great, and people should do it, and I just feel weird hanging out.
Yep.
You know, I could stand there and just be some has-been, and
Yeah.
It's not. That's not.
I get the feeling. Yeah.
You know, that's not why I ever wanted to be there. I wanted to hang out with my buddies, and so now I'll just hang out with them.
Right.
Also, it was an excuse to travel and compete, and now I can just travel.
Right.
So eliminate that part where I have to train for something and basically just enjoy myself.
Right.
So one of the other guys I'm seeing up here is this guy, Dustin Klein. He's a YouTuber I found who's a cyclist. And so has a neat little channel. He's an artist and does his own stuff. And cool guy, ended up tattooing my shin last year or 2 years ago whenever I was up. And yeah, interesting dude as well. So we're talking about meeting up with him in the woods and camping one night with his kind of camp setup and
nice
hanging out, and then catching a ride with him Saturday morning. So
awesome.
Should be fun, man. The cycling stuff has been good for me.
Good.
I enjoy it. I enjoy that and the building of a vehicle. So now is to figure out what the next build is going to be.
That's always the thing, right?
Yeah, it's always what's over there. I think van makes sense. But I don't think I'll keep it as a daily.
Yeah,
so I'll build something else
those
for
Sprinter
a daily.
vans would be like, for what you do, would be so fun to build.
So,
I did contemplate that for a while.
Well, my idea with the Sprinter too is I think I could set up a pretty decent mobile podcast studio, and that would be kind of part of a cool gimmick of like come in the van and we sit and chat and have the video, or with the door open right in front of the van or whatever it is. Right, I think that could be a cool part of it. But for a daily driver, got my eyes set on I want a 64, 67 El Camino.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want an El Camino. I've always wanted one.
Oh man, I wanted one of those.
I
almost bought one when I was I don't know, late teens, maybe early 20s, something like that.
Yeah,
I was going to build up.
I would get one, LS swap it, fuel inject, just
yeah.
make it run.
Yep.
And then 6-speed, be fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
Be a fun car, man. I just don't know how you keep tires on the backside.
Yeah,
of it.
you don't see those around anymore.
No.
Like there was a while they were popular to rebuild those, and I actually can't think I've seen one for a while.
They made I started educating myself on them. Dude, they did different body styles on the El Camino from like 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, 80, 87.
Really?
They changed it every fucking year. Like they're all different.
I know there's a certain set that I really like. And it's
pre-70.
It's an older one. I know that.
70s, as soon as like that pointed nose showed up on the Camaro and the Chevelle. And that's not my favorite look. I like the flat front of like the 68 Z28 look or I also really love a Chevy Nova. I like that 70, 69 Chevy Nova that got used in Death Proof. That's a good shaped car.
My what I want is the AMC Javelin.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people want to go with like the Plymouth Roadrunner or something like that, which I love those.
Similar
as well.
car.
It's a very similar car.
Big crazy wing on the back.
The
Javelin doesn't.
The Javelin doesn't.
The Superbird.
Yeah. So you're thinking, but the AMC Javelin, that is because I used to. My Jeep was an AMC Jeep that I had, and it had an AMC 401 in it.
Old.
And I built that 401 up.
Is it a CJ5?
It was a CJ7.
7. Okay, it was AMC.
And it had an AMC 401 in it, and it has more off-idle torque than a 350 at peak. Right. And like I did a little bit of work to that thing, and I had 37s on it with an automatic transmission, 3-speed automatic.
Start fixing other parts.
I threw the driveline through the body like 6 times.
Through the body, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm not kidding. It would like twist up like it would be like licorice. Like I'm like
just spin the drive shaft.
You just tap on the gas, give it a little gas, and it would burn off those 37s with like 10 psi of air, all the way up into third gear.
Oh my god!
And so that was like, I love this engine. I love this. And so I got into AMC, like looking into AMC stuff, and I fell in love with the Javelin, which it's a nice classic car. It's really beautiful, but it's a rare, and a lot of people don't know about it because they stick with the more common ones. Of course,
you got the big popular ones.
And so, yeah.
So can you find them kind of not crazy?
Yes. There's still a lot, they've been already, done.
Oh, if they've been done.
Usually they're, I don't want a full stock one, but I don't want something that's yeah.
Right.
So,
well, you want to be able to tinker with
yeah,
it, but you
yeah.
want it more than a body.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is basically what I'm looking for El Camino wise. It's
Yeah.
like, I want the nicest one that I can buy that isn't already finished.
Yes.
Because I know, like, I'm going to gut it.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to gut it anyway.
But I don't want an old rust out body that
Correct.
it's got to be.
Yeah,
like,
I need a good body, decent frame.
Yep.
At least a place to start. It'd be nice if it drove now, and then I could make it not drive.
So that's my one classic car. And then the other is I love old panel vans.
Yeah.
So both chopped and lowered, super
Dude,
low,
that's such
as
a good
well as
look.
four-wheel drive and lifted also look freaking
The
badass.
Sportsmobile. See,
So-
if I'm looking at vans, I have to look at those. The Sportsmobile are such a cool build out too, with a big Ford Econoline like 350.
Yeah.
It's a really rad setup. There's so many options
So
when
those
it
are
comes to this.
those
van
are
life.
my classic car options for me. So
The big
someday.
Yeah, the big difference for at least the Sprinter build is I'm not going to live in it.
Right.
I'll live in it temporarily. I like having a home with my things. I'm not so minimalist that this van thing is perfect for me in that aspect. I like a place. I like a home base. Now, with car stuff, you happen to follow like any of Jonathan Ward's stuff, what he does with Icon 4x4?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he has done like rebuilds and complete re-engineer work on like early Broncos, FJs, and they're immaculate. He does those, and then he's got another line. I mean, they're $230,000 Broncos.
I'm familiar with it now that you mention it. Like I don't actively follow
Sure.
or look into this stuff because,
his styling and taste.
I watch it on the peripheral, and I am aware of what you're talking about now that you walk through it.
Man, the work he does it's pretty.
Yeah,
It's pretty. Man, there are some fads in the way cars get built that I just can't get behind. Like right now, I don't like a big 24-inch wheel on a lifted truck. I think it's not for me.
I actually, so this is something I debated on with my tow rig, which I just showed you pictures of. I'm rebuilding in the process of I'm finishing the war rig. Which for those that don't know, it's I don't know how to describe it.
It's a Durango, basic Durango.
It's a Durango. It's a basic Durango with very custom Unimog axles, four-wheel steering, central tire inflation.
Is it still running on gas, or is it running propane?
No, it runs on gas.
Okay.
But a blown 360 in there, putting out 700 plus horsepower, foot-pounds of torque, 300 to 1 to gear ratio, full XO2 through to internal cage, and like mini went-off engineering.
Casual.
Thing.
So
very
basically a Durango
casual.
with a family sticker on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
right in.
That can Baja race, extreme rock crawl, trail ride, and drive the kids to school.
Take it and do the hammers?
Yeah, you
King
can do
of
it.
Hammers
You can
in
do
it?
anything. Yeah. The original concept was being built for the very first King of the Hammers ever. So, because I knew some of the guys that did the year
That
before
thing has
race, the
grown crazy.
13 people. It was
Right.
13 people that went out and did this, and they're like concepted it. And then the next year they did the first race. And I can't remember if I was prepping for that one or the year after. So I had the full tube chassis done, drivetrain, and I built the axles. So it was all around, thus the central tire inflation. And because heating, cooling, and then being able to tire the tires, having them set at the right pressure between the race and the rocks was
the
causing
time of
issues.
getting out.
So anyway, I realized I don't need another competition outlet. So I actually sold the full tube chassis and drivetrain, and kept the axles, and then slowly started building this through the years. But anyway, the tow rig I started, which is a twin turbo Dodge diesel I just put a flatbed on it, and I had 40s on it, and I was upgrading to 42s a number of years ago, and I'm like trying to find rims. And I'm like, God, 20s. I hate all those the 20s on a big truck just don't look right.
They don't look bad on 42-inch
But I didn't
rubber.
have a lot of issue. But then I got them for those 42s, and it all works.
Right.
Because everything is just if you look
The
at
scale's right.
When you look at a picture of the truck, you actually don't even realize it's big.
No, the pictures you send of
it's
35s, it looks like
everything is all balanced.
Yeah.
You see it in person, it's totally different. But I had the same thing because I'm like, I don't like the lifted.
No, it looks odd, right? And then to me, a lot of those trucks, are lifted too high for the size tire. That
my God.
I don't need 3 feet between the top of my tire.
Oh my God.
And
People have more lift on their 35s than I have with my 40. Like, I barely have any. Like,
right. Buy
I've done
good
so
suspension.
much. Well, actually, I had to design.
Or
I had
build,
to, I had to design all mine and redo the steering and move the axles and.
No,
but on that thing,
I
have 6 inches of up travel, and there's not much lift on it.
Right. Right. And yeah, that look with the big, big shiny rims, and then this big deep dish on the rim now, and then you see the tire bulge,
the chrome stuff all over it too, and
the tire slightly bulged, and not only that, low pro tires on a vehicle.
Now
that size.
Okay, you want to hit the worst one I hate? Stacks.
Oh God!
I think they're falling out of
stacks in the back.
Oh my God! I can't
rolling coal.
I cannot stand rolling.
You think they're
coal.
falling out of Fed?
Oh
you should
God!
Just travel south. Find yourself south of that Mason-Dixon line. There, we'll figure that right out for you.
I cannot stand stacks. It drives me nuts.
I don't get it. I don't get that. I don't. The one that's a killer for me is the angry eye thing on Jeeps.
Oh.
The fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, your vehicle's not mad at anyone. Like, why did you do that? It was fine. Like, the circle headlights and the 7 bars is so classic Jeep. Like, please don't mess with it. It's already right.
Yes.
They did a good job with it. There's a reason they don't send them out of the factory with those angry eyebrows.
Yeah.
To make your lights work less. Just all the bolt-on shit that you see people. And look, I'm one to talk. My vehicle, it looks like the lady from Labyrinth carrying her chair and all of her equipment on her back everywhere.
Yep.
My truck has turned into that. But
it's functional.
It's functional.
Yep.
Yeah. You know. And man, part of that tinkering, dude, of like optimizing. And it's the same thing I loved about my home gym.
Yep. Well, this is I've actually had this conversation with Stu McGill several times. So Stu under my truck, like that was like the first time we met. He like we had this nice dinner downtown, and he sees my truck, and he's like, he drops on the ground and rolls under my truck. And he's like, I just want to see if you've done it right.
Oh, good man.
And so we ended up having a lot of conversations around.
Is he into vehicles? And
he's got a Jeep that he actually wanted to drive down here and have me help him and build.
Where is he?
He's up outside of the Toronto area, so he's semi-retired. So he lives in a small area, like
to drive a Jeep.
Oh yeah. And I'm not going to do that.
No.
So, but I don't have time.
No, that's
time
a long
for my
way
own
to
race,
drive a Jeep.
let alone anything else.
Build someone else's shit.
So,
like, no thanks.
No.
That's not what I do for a living.
This tinkering, this optimizing for performance, this balancing stability and mobility and the different needs of like these different counter perspectives is what we do with building athletes and performance and training, and a lot of it is very similar. How do I make it bigger and stronger, but now balance the mobility and stability to be able to have the control and performance as I go around? Like,
hand.
It's the same stuff, right? So you're constantly trying to find those little weak links, and how do I there's no script for how to do it perfectly because everybody's needs are completely different. And so understanding that, and like you can't just go, boom, I'm just going to buy this from the factory and that's going to be a performance. Like it doesn't exist.
Right. Like I know that if I build a van, like I'm not going to waste room in a van with a shower.
And I said I would love a van build. My van build, if I did one, would be completely different.
Of course.
But I've actually decided, evaluated, it doesn't even fit like what I want, so I've ditched that.
Right.
But I'm just using that as a thing.
And that's so much, like that's what I love about the home gym market, and what we're seeing there is like you can do this optimization for you.
Exactly.
And it's fun to chase it and realize we're wasting time with this. I don't ever need that anymore.
Well, this is like, and this gets back to the conversation, like, I guess it could be around COVID or whatever, but these failures of the big commercial gyms. And this was already happening. So all these ones they were already struggling in the years leading up to this.
Right.
And it's because it's a one size fits all. You're going to go into this and it's going to work for the bodybuilder, the power lifter, the athlete, the dad that wants to get in shape.
I always looked at those gyms as
the
like
teenage
a gateway
kid,
drug.
the teenage kid, the whatever it is. And so in the end, it works really for nobody because it's not a tailored environment.
Right.
It's not just the tools, it's the environment. So what do we see succeeding are places that have a tailored environment.
Yeah, specificity.
So, and it's not just the tools and training, which that is as well, but it's that specific environment combined with that. So the private weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting gym, the CrossFit,
which I think CrossFit
the
really
CrossFit
brought
box, and again, those are all different. Based on, the area and the focus and all this sorts of things.
Well, that if you have a team trying to make it to the games versus are you running a box that is supporting a subdivision?
Exactly. So they're different. A powerlifting training center, all these are, and those are all doing well, right? Yeah. Now, obviously everybody's got struggles in the current environment, but we're not seeing, those kind of massive failures in that market per se.
Gold's declaring bankruptcy?
Yeah, or 24-hour fitness, or
Well, but a big part of those, and we're aware of this on our side.
I think there was a couple big ones that were owned out of some New York-based companies that also went down.
Just had to shut them.
They were big. I don't think they were well-known necessarily names, brands that you would recognize, but they were. Same thing in that venue.
I mean, in like Planet Fitness or any of these other places, like there's a place for these gyms. Like they fit.
They'll never go away completely.
Right.
But
part of their business
it being
model,
the primary thing, the primary point of our market, which they have been, that's changing.
Yep.
And so this, the current environment has moved that needle point forward that was already moving. Well, there's a place for them.
Coop with Garage Gym Reviews will be very happy that you think things are moving toward the home space and away from the big
It's the
box.
home and the tailored environment.
Yes. Yeah, these bespoke, or small group.
Yep.
You're seeing that stuff. I mean, you're seeing
or
people we know.
The individual training set again.
Yeah.
Could be somebody training people out of their garage. I drove by one this morning. I dropped off my daughter, and across the street there's a gal. She's got a garage open. She's training her client.
Our friend we stayed with in a little further north outside of or in Olympia, Liz, Fortress Athletics. I mean, she's got her garage set up now, and it's great. Business has boomed. She has fulfilled a need for a group of people, right? And the other thing that doesn't work in this current climate is the business model that Gold's and 24 and Planet Fitness all ran was this idea of like, we'll make it cheap enough that you'll never cancel.
Yeah.
That's their plan. They were never built to actually be able to take care of the number of people who sign up.
No.
The plan is that 80% will never come in the gym.
Yeah. The model does not.
That's the plan.
So many members it does not pencil out if they actually showed up.
Yeah. No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and then the gym becomes not a thing you can access, people cancel their shit.
Well, it's crazy. Like my gym can be as busy with 50 members as a gym that has 3,000 members. In that environment.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad to see a shift in that paradigm, the old business model. It needs to adapt. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting seeing the people who have come through this side of things, who've made creative solutions, who have figured out, okay, we can add this, we can change this. What need does our customer base currently have? How do we fulfill it? Mm-hmm. Which is like the only key to doing fucking jobs is find work people don't want to do themselves.
Yep. And so it's like part of what we've done is like not just seeing the need, but knowing what the future need is.
Yeah.
That people don't know yet.
Right. So, the stuff you discussed is super exciting to see where you guys are going. I'm very, very, very happy to watch those changes come about. Well, dude, that's wrapping up on an hour 20.
Okay.
And I know we're going to go take a tour of manufacturing, and then as your gym gets put together later this week, we'll show off all of it. We've been doing some kind of private gym tours, I guess, is what the series has been on YouTube, and they've been surprised. People love them.
Right.
And so this is the only thing I've found so far that people like on my YouTube channel that I'm willing to be like, okay, I'll lean into this because I get access to come be around guys like you or Mark or, filming Jim Wendler's garage, this hermit Howard Hughes character in our industry that nobody gets to actually talk to in person and show up and have him show off his garage all curmudgeonly.
Nice.
It's great. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun showing off these facilities that are purpose built, like you're saying. These very specific, dialed in training places that like this is the stuff that gets me stoked.
Yeah,
and all the new tools.
Well, you're going to have the very first look.
Hell yeah.
Probably before even our members.
Hell yeah.
Of our new facility. Obviously, it won't be entirely, quite
dialed
complete,
in, but it never is.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
It's also never finished.
Yeah, it's another project.
No, it's never done. There's never there. There's no there.
Yep.
Whenever that happens, like, all right, we're on to the next thing. It's time to close that out. Burn it.
Yep.
Well, dude, thank you again. And Chris, like, new Transformer bar, where can people find them? Where?
KabukiStrength.com.
Yeah. What's y'all's lead time on those?
I'm not quite sure right now.
Okay.
So,
but you can order and reserve, and
it says the lead time on the website, so that keeps updated
Awesome.
based on the current order backlog.
Awesome.
There's a good chance because of the newness of the bar and the orders coming in that orders are going to close.
Yeah.
So we're trying not to have anything extend beyond.
Too crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that makes
sense. But offhand, I personally don't know because I don't manage the operational side of that. So, but I believe we're probably somewhere in the 8 to maybe 12 weekish range right now. Because
shit, with that said,
I mean, orders have just been climbing in. Like
we did that giveaway with you guys last year, and those guys were stoked that got the stuff. So if we're gonna do that again, I'll probably have to get orders in, get them in now for Christmas.
Yeah. You would need to
go ahead and get those ready to go.
So
good move, brother. I appreciate it, dude. And Kabuki Strength.
Yep,
guys have been killing it. Yeah.
You can check out my, you can find me, the two places I'm on is Instagram and LinkedIn. Just type in my name.
And LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't really use Facebook, but I deal with a lot of.
That makes sense. It's the worst.
Yeah, it is.
It's terrible.
But, because of all our professional contacts out there, it makes a really great environment for me. So I actually post and interact on LinkedIn pretty frequently.
Right on.
So those are the two platforms I'm on.
There you go. Well, thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for listening. The video for this is on YouTube if anyone's interested in that side of things. And if not, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.